You are listening to the Mobile, Alabama Business Podcast with Marcus Netto, created by Bluefish.
All right, I am Blair Ladd. I am a multi-million-dollar producer with Keller Williams Realty here in Mobile, Alabama.
Yay! Well, welcome to the podcast, Blair.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Well, full disclosure, you're my neighbor.
Yes, I am.
And just as a general rule, quite honestly, we don't do realtors, financial services people, or there are a couple of other businesses that there are just so many people that do it, and it's just like, well, how do you decide? Because but when we were setting up the schedule for today, you contact, and I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I would love to showcase you on the podcast.
Thank you.
But to get started, because people probably aren't real familiar with you, like, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know where you're from, but tell us where you're from. Where'd you go to high school, college? Did you go? Did you graduate? What'd you study? Are you married? I know the answer. Just give us some backstory about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm originally from Mobile, born and raised. I started out at St. Ignatius Catholic School, went to UMS for 2 years, and then transferred over to St. Paul's, where I graduated.
Cool.
Then went on to the University of Alabama, where I have a Bachelor's of Science, graduated with honors. Studied essentially marketing, restaurant hospitality was something I thought I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to plan events, and essentially I wanted to work for a city managing like citywide events, and obviously Mobile with Mardi Gras
or something
and
along those lines,
and all of these events and fun things that we have. That was an idea, but my senior year, I was actually headed to Atlanta when I was set up on a blind date, fell in love, told my future roommate, I said, it's probably just going to last 3 months. It's going to fizzle out. They always do. And now we've been married 14 years with 3 kids. So,
You go, Gilliard.
I told him I didn't want a boyfriend. He said that was fine. And then
you got married. I mean, he's a problem solver. He didn't give you a boyfriend; he gave you a husband.
He did, and gave us a whole life and everything.
No, that's really cool. And so Gilliard's a lawyer. He's now got a new position.
He does. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you've got a couple of kids.
Yes.
And so. Would you, obviously you graduated with honors, so you're one of those smart people that does well in school?
I would not say I'm a straight A student, never was. There's way too many distractions, but I am someone who I've always felt like A's and B's were very important, and your studies are important. You work hard, you play harder. That's kind of my little motto.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And so how did you find yourself in real estate?
Well, when we first got married, I started working at Mobile Baykeeper and realized very quickly that was just not a good fit for me. Moved into sales, and that was fun, but I didn't really like doing sales from behind a desk. And then we got married, and the economy crashed.
2008?
I think we got married in 2009.
Okay.
I feel bad saying that I think we did. We got married in 2009.
It's okay. Yeah.
So I was actually working in sales at a hotel, and the hotel just wasn't really doing well. I mean, everything dried up. So I was devastated, lost my job right before the wedding, moved over to what I thought would just be a quick little temporary thing with working at the vet's office, was there a year, loved it. But I'm allergic to all the animals, which I know is, I know.
I mean, you have like every animal.
I don't have a cow. Gilliard's not going to let me get a cow.
Your neighbors won't let you either.
Come on, how much fun would it be to have a mini cow walking around?
I mean, the kids would love it, but let's not go that route. The city probably has some sort of ordinance against livestock.
I know they're not cool with it.
Cattle is
maybe one day they'll.
Maybe a mini pony.
Oh, that would be fun.
I mean, that would be a little Shetland pony just running around.
I'm totally.
You'd never have to mow the grass.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. We'll share.
There you go.
Okay, so this is where that ADD comes in. I totally have this vision that I want to be like horse and carriage, kind of like the ice cream man, but I want to serve margaritas and like wine. So like for happy hour, so I can follow the ice cream guy and like he's going down the little neighborhoods. Here I am with my horse and cart, and I'm serving wine to all the moms while their kids are eating the ice cream and getting their sugar high.
Why is there not a horse-drawn carriage ride downtown Mobile?
I don't know. That's a good idea.
This is an aside, but Brooks's podcast, Brooks Conkle, was on a couple of weeks ago, and his podcast is going to be released next week, and he's invited me to be on his podcast. And the thing that we are going to discuss, which may be out by now if you're listening to this, is things that we would like to see come to Mobile. And so that just came to me. It was just kind of like, hey, why isn't there a horse-drawn carriage? Because
that would be really fun.
There's got to be somebody in this area that has all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That could make that happen. I wonder if there's some issue with the city and having, but we have police horses downtown, so I wouldn't think that they would. Anyway, completely aside. Yeah. Hey, squirrel is what this is, right? Excuse us. We're having a conversation over here.
So after working at the vet's office and realizing that for my own health, I needed to do something else, there was an opening for essentially marketing and just kind of a everything secretary at a local real estate firm, where I decided, I was like, well, this is something that's always interested me. I'm the type that I started receiving Architectural Digest magazines from my grandmother when I was 18. Loved it. It's something that's always fascinated me. I love everything about it. And so I thought this was a good way to get my foot in the door, see if this is something I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
So we did that for a couple years, had my first baby, and 3 out of 3 daycare nanny options fell through.
Ooh.
So I was about 6 weeks postpartum, had to figure out what I was going to do, decided to take some time off. We realized that we would be okay for a little bit if I took time off and just spent that time raising my child, which is what I did. And so took a few years off. And then, as I like to say, in between pregnancies, got my real estate license.
Yeah.
10 days later, on our 10-year anniversary, found out that we were unexpectedly expecting number 3. So I spent the first year of real estate showing houses, trying not to throw up on people for the first couple of months. And just trying to figure out what I was going to do. Somebody encouraged me to put my license into referral, which is something I didn't want to do. I had people saying, there's no way you can have 3 children and be a realtor and be successful. What are you going to do? You have all these things.
Who's laughing now?
Well, I am.
Yeah. Funny story, just as an aside. Yeah. When we had Ethan, which is my third, I still get comments from people that knew me from the chamber back then, because I would cart him around in his bucket. Myself and Christy Kelly and a few other people started the Young Professionals group on the Eastern Shore, and I distinctly remember going to meetings and just setting him on the table and just being like, "Hey, it is what it is," So I completely understand.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of been a turn. I think that some of the more experienced people in the world, a little bit older.
Yeah.
Children were seen and not heard. Yeah. And if you were bringing your child out in public as a professional, it was just absolutely frowned upon. But at the end of the day, you're a working parent. You've got to do what you've got to do.
Well, and so this would be right around 2016 or so?
2019 is when I got my license.
Okay.
And 2020 is when little Gilliard
Yeah, I was going to say, because, well...
And in February of 2020 is when he was born. And the children went to school for 4 days after that. And the world shut down.
Oh, my gosh.
And real estate took off. And
so you've been having to juggle that as well.
Yeah, so I was helping, my middle was about 2 and she wanted to potty train herself, and we didn't have a fenced in yard at the time. And so she's running outside, taken off. I'm not even able to drive yet because I'm recovering from a C-section. Real estate certainly didn't slow down. And then I'm also trying to teach my oldest first grade stuff. And so it was insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And then thankfully, my husband, I called him and I said, there is no way that everyone's going to survive much longer. I can't physically keep up. And he thought that I meant like, oh, they're driving me crazy. I was like, no, I can't even drive yet. I need you to start working from the house.
Yeah.
And so we would work. We'd be sitting there at the dining room table. And if one of us had to take a call, the other one took the kids. And we were just both doing our paperwork. If I had to show houses, and I was still nursing the baby too. So I could only be away for about 2 hours because he wouldn't take a bottle. He wouldn't take a pacifier.
Yeah.
He only wanted mom. The other mothers out there will get that.
Yeah.
So, but
No, I get it. Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do, and we made it work. And
it's interesting to me because you talked about how the thought process of the previous generation was like, hey, not seen, not heard, when it comes to kids. And we don't mean anything by that other than that's just the way things had been for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I remember having conversations with a buddy of mine. His name's Matt Jones, and we were talking about the changing of the work environment, and that there was going to be a freelancer, solopreneur, economy where people were going to be making decisions about their lives based on what works into their lives rather than what everybody else deemed was acceptable.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's, like even my own, like starting Bluefish, I was working, on the couch for a number of years, with either a kid next to me or, some other stuff going on, or I was in a coffee shop or whatever. And it's, now we've got, this building, which certainly makes things a lot easier as far as being able to focus and stuff. But like, man, you just have to do sometimes what you have to do.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so just sticking with it and, it's a struggle, but like you figure it out. Because that's just the way. Yeah, that's just where things are now.
Right, and the way that the economy has gotten, you have to essentially have 2 working parents, and so how are you going to balance that, especially if the schools are shut down?
Yeah, which they seem to do a lot.
And so I also realized that if I was going to be working with someone that was going to have a problem with me being a mother, and sometimes
just
the kids have to come along, then maybe I was not a good fit for them with business.
Yeah.
And that was okay because real estate is something that is so personal. You are helping people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives. Even if it's just an investment, this is a really big deal. These are big purchases. And so your relationship doesn't stop when you close on something. You want to continue that relationship because you get to know somebody and you become friends with them. And
you have to know their likes and dislikes in order to make good suggestions as far as homes go.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So, you definitely, I get it.
And sometimes selling or buying, you also the more you learn about someone's story, the more you're like, are you sure this is what you really want to do?
Yeah.
Or are you doing this for someone else?
Yeah.
And so there have been times where we just call everything off and everything like that. And I've had some really great friendships come from the career that I'm on. It's been really amazing.
Being flexible and allowing them that ability.
Right.
Because a lot of realtors would,
Yeah, it's not just another commission. Like, yes, this is how I make a living, but my needs, and they should always be second to my client. And that should be the way that it's practiced. Unfortunately, there are some bad actors, but any field that you go into, you're going to have people that are not focused on their clients and the needs of that. And so I think that is something that's sad, but it's a reality. But you can't do that. You're not going to be successful and you're not going to be happy.
Don't go chasing commissions, build relationships.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So what was your first job? And I'm talking about, flipping burgers,
My very first job. My first job was making jewelry for a local jewelry designer.
Okay.
And she had her jewelry featured in Neiman Marcus and things like that. So it was nice. But just stringing beads, that was my first job, turned into babysitting. I lie. My first job.
What?
It was cat sitting.
Oh,
for the neighbor. I was about 10 years old, and I would go down and feed the cats and let them out and make sure they were safe and sound.
Well, what do you, so the follow-up to that question then is, what are some of the lessons that you still remember from either one of those, from those jobs? Because I think oftentimes we forget, we get so far away from that we forget that, the lessons about what it means to be part of the workforce, how to look a customer in the eyes, how to shake a hand, how to address somebody, all that stuff. They start very early. Like, I remember my first job working at a bagel bakery and learning how to mop a floor. You'd think you'd know how to mop a floor at, I guess I was 15 or so years old. But yeah, no, this guy was like former Navy, like he knew how to mop a floor.
Right.
And in a bakery, it's kind of important. But so what lessons?
Yes, in the food service industry, my brother owns 2 restaurants. And restaurant and hospitality management, you learn all the ins and outs and the food. There is a proper way to clean.
Yeah.
So one of the major things that I've learned with different jobs and everything like that is that if you enjoy what you do, you're going to be good at it.
Yeah.
And you're going to show up. The lessons I learned as a child are you make as much money as you put in the work. So you have to work for it.
Extremely valuable lesson to learn at an early age.
Yes.
Especially for somebody that's now gone into something where definitely the amount of time and energy and focus that you put into something is going to, reap you, good rewards. So, do you remember your first deal in real estate?
I do.
So what was it about that, that moment? Or so I oftentimes find that when somebody steps into a new space, that, there's some uncertainty about it, but then there's something that clicks and it's like, okay, this is something that I can do. Do you remember what it was about real estate that made you think, I can definitely do this?
I don't think that essentially happened until I switched companies. I think that I lacked that confidence. I knew it was something I wanted to do, and I thought I could be really good at it. I don't think my first couple of deals, the first couple of houses, I felt better and I was feeling more confident.
Yeah.
But once I changed over to Keller Williams, I feel like that confidence really took off.
Okay.
I struggled. It was really hard to get going. And there were times I would look at the numbers and I would say, okay, am I spending more money than I'm making? And try and make sure this was the right thing. I knew this is what I wanted to do. And it is something that I absolutely love doing. But I think that confidence came
What was it
later.
about Keller Williams that helped you with that then? And here's why I'm asking, because like people outside of the real estate industry, and I know you well enough, when you say these things, you're not bashing any company.
No,
because I think people need to understand, like each company, just like every marketing agency or advertising
there's going to
agency,
be different fits.
they have a personality.
Yes.
Does that personality jive with you as a business owner? Because if you don't jive with me, then why are you working with Bluefish?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, like the same thing, like, whether it's, Keller Williams or, any of the any of the others, and I'm blanking. I should know them all.
Well,
because I've been so involved in the real estate
industry. Don't want to say, because it might be misconstrued as being, as talking bad about somebody else or anything, which I loved where I was. And I have tons of friends there still. It's a great company. When I went over to Keller Williams, I just felt like I had the support and the encouragement from my team leaders.
Right.
And their theme is God, family, work, in that order. And that is the priorities. And I realized going over there that if I didn't have those priorities and I didn't have them in that order, I was going to feel overwhelmed. I was not happy in what I was doing. I felt like it was so stressful and everything like that. But once I really retooled and said, as long as I'm keeping God first, and then my family is my priority, and then work comes after that, that is when I started feeling more confident, just really finding that joy and everything that came with it. And my success really started just going from
took
there.
off.
Yes.
And you don't have to say anything after this other than having been with someone for, My ex was a realtor, and we were together. She's still a realtor, and quite good at it. You know, just because we're together, it doesn't take anything away from her accomplishments in that. But you know, she was a realtor for 15 years or so of our marriage, and so I'm very, you know, very in tune with the real estate business. But I'm not saying anything about her, but just in general, I've seen people just lose themselves.
Yes.
Because it's a after work, weekends type of thing.
It's a 24/7.
But then people don't realize like all the research and all the paperwork and all the other things that have to be done during normal business hours.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to lose your soul to the, you know, to the job. And I could say that about any position, but for whatever reason, real estate seems to be, it's super easy to do that. So having people that are going to keep you focused on, don't do that. It needs to be in this order. So if your family
and
is
encouraging and supporting that on a regular basis.
And not giving you a sideways look like when you say you have to be home because your kid's sick or something like that. Like
imagine that. I know you know that my kids never get sick.
Yeah, I know. We have to quarantine the two different families because you know, they always want to play together, but you can't always do that. So.
I know.
Well, if you were talking to someone who wanted to get started in running their own business, what's the one bit of wisdom that you'd impart to them?
Keep your priorities.
Okay.
Keep your priorities, and that'll help you keep your joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. And what motivates you to work hard on your business? I know the answer to this one too.
The glory. It's absolutely the glory.
Yeah.
Obviously, the family,
Yeah.
my family. I want to be able to give them things that I had. And again, you know, you need two incomes these days in order to, I mean, one, just even make it. But also, I do have hopes and dreams, and I'd love to be able to one day get a horse.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But even bigger than that.
A baby horse.
A baby horse. But even, you know, what we pray is God give us enough work so that we can pay our bills, we can send our kids to have a Catholic education, and have enough to be able to give back and make a difference for other people. So
well, I know you guys well enough to know that you are doing all of those things. I also think it's really good, you know, you have two daughters and that you're mirroring a good, healthy, you know, avenue for them because it's not always the case, you know, for them to, you know,
and
go
a lot
in
of
and
times
do
down
something.
south too. I mean, there's still a lot of the woman's places in the kitchen and the house. And so there is still, I'm not making any sort of qualms about the fact that I do most of the housework and everything like that. But there is balance, and I'm very lucky that my husband is willing to pitch in and he does help out and everything like that. But it's good for the girls to see that you can have a career and that you can also be
A loving mother. Yeah.
I'm mostly loving. You know, they do drive me crazy.
Well,
but,
you know.
I'm just, of course. I mean, we're
Listen,
a normal
if
family.
you are not friends with Blair on Facebook, then you are missing out on the historical or the Chronicles.
Ladd Chronicles.
Yeah, the Ladd Chronicles. I mean, the stories that this woman tells are pretty funny. I don't know how you make it through a day with the little you know, tornadoes that are your kids.
They're my everyday life.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that it's not anything that's unique to anybody else. It's just that I'm willing to put it out there.
No, 100%.
Because I think social media people only want to portray like the shiny,
That's
happy
such
things.
BS.
And it's like, no, that's
I
not
love
real
that you
life.
share it. Yeah, because
that's how you feel bad about yourself. You see all these negative things or all these positive things, and you're like, well, I just picked up a pile of frozen dog poop barehanded.
Yes, when you posted that, I was
thinking it was wood to throw.
Sister, I've been there. You know, I mean,
that was a good day.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. So, are there any books or podcasts, people or organizations that have been helpful in moving you forward?
Well, you have been inspiring.
Oh, come on now.
I'm not even lying. You do inspire
She's just saying
me.
this for the cameras, but yeah. No,
you and Chrissy are really awesome, and you all have a great work ethic, and it's helped me to have business conversations with y'all, and helping just think about my career as a business and how to, just marketing and things like that. So it's been really helpful being able to bounce things back and forth off of y'all.
Well, I appreciate that.
So,
yeah. No, I mean, it's, I just, I think one of the things that I've always tried to do is whenever it comes to business, I've tried to make myself approachable because I don't know shit about what I'm doing. Okay. And so, like I literally had a laptop and I was like, well, I'll start a business, and then here we are. And so I know the difficulties of what it means to be a small business owner. And so there's never been a question where I've been like, well, God, that was stupid or anything, because I recognize there's a passage in the Bible where he talks about, a lamp unto your feet, that you only have as much light as what you need at this moment to deal with the things that you're dealing with, but that you have to trust in God and that you have to keep taking those steps and that he will continue to shine the light in your path so that you can see those other things. Business is very much like that as well. I only have the knowledge that I need to deal with the things that I'm dealing with right now, but that, if I keep taking steps forward, I'm hopeful that I'm going to learn those lessons. I learned some really hard lessons in the last couple of years that I don't ever want to learn again. But, you have to kind of keep moving forward. And I think sometimes people get to a certain point and they think, okay, well, I've already learned all. And it's like, no, man,
there's always something to learn.
There's always something to learn. And if you can shortcut that for other people, which is the whole purpose why we do this. I'm spending my money so that people can hear what you have to say.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Because
I want to help the other business owners. And one of the things that I loved about moving to Mobile, because, I've been here for almost 20 years now, but one of the things that I loved about moving to Mobile was there are so many people that just say, you know what, I got an idea, I'm going to go and do this thing. And, if you talk to the chamber, they talk about, I think 30,000 small businesses in Mobile is the number, if I remember correctly. And so I just, with that many people here owning businesses or running businesses, there's got to be somebody out there that's going to listen to what you have to say and be like, oh my gosh, that encouraged me or touched me or, whatever. And then, they've learned something that helps them. And that's the whole reason why we do this. So, but thank you for saying that. But it really, were there any books? No. No. But you've said the Keller Williams organization.
Yes.
I'm sure that, there have been some other folks that have been, helpful in kind of, progressing that. So
I did my mother's also a realtor and she did encourage me to get my license.
I do remember that. Yeah.
That was when actually she and I had land that y'all bought listed together. We were co-listing that one. But she's always been an inspiration. You talked about having my two girls. And so I've been able to watch my mother work and now standing on her own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And so she's always held a job, always done, something. And then she got her license when I think I was graduating college. So just always seeing her work was always an inspiration and knowing that you just never know what the future holds.
Yeah.
Her dad walked out of their family when she was 6 weeks old. Her mom didn't have a job. So she went back, got her, I guess, teaching certificate and then her master's, went back, started teaching math. And
which is saying a lot because you're talking about it in a time when that wasn't, that wasn't a normal thing.
50s and 60s. Yeah. And so she went and supported her family, her 2 kids, while my biological grandfather ran off to California and started a new family. So that's one thing that you always keep in mind, even you just never know. And then, of course, what happened with my dad, and he just dropped. So, and thank goodness we've got a career, and she's got a career, and she's kept her head up and kept.
I imagine it's been very helpful for her getting through all that and having something to kind of spend her time on and, and stuff like that. So.
And keeping her faith strong and everything like that. So she's a very big inspiration to me.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, there's your answer.
Okay, that's true.
I'll accept that one.
Can we edit out the awkward other one?
No. There is no editing of this. If you don't know that, there's no editing of this.
Okay.
This is meant to be a conversation, and so all my
awkwardness is going to stay.
Oh yeah,
Pick it up. Okay.
That's the only reason why we invited you on, was to make you feel awkward. All right, so we've got some. Actually, how do you like to unwind?
I think you know this answer, but I'll tell everybody. I love to get a glass of wine and hang out with my chickens.
Yeah.
It's the best.
And pick up some frozen poop.
Yeah,
that's just a bonus.
Yeah, it's just a bonus.
All right, so I've got 12 rapid fire questions. So don't This isn't
Don't
like
think, just
sit here and
answer.
think, just
Okay.
answer the question. And, so, all right, what's your favorite type of music?
That's really hard to answer. My dad was a musician, so I like everything.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry. But
Now, if you got in the car right now, what's on your radio?
Christian rock.
Okay. What is your favorite type of food?
Ooh, steak.
Yeah.
A grilled steak.
Is that what I smell on?
Friday night, steak night, date night.
Yeah.
Keeps the romance alive.
Smells good too.
Come over.
Yeah, I'm sure Gilliard would be real appreciative of us like crashing on his date night. Favorite restaurant in Lower Alabama?
In Lower Alabama. Oh, you can't beat Felix's. It's my favorite.
Okay. Favorite city outside of Mobile?
Oh, that would be everywhere on 30A. Destin, everywhere over there.
Seaside,
It's beautiful.
Rosemary. City you want to travel to but have yet to visit?
Anywhere in Scotland, and I'd love to visit London.
Do you have ties to Scotland?
Gilliard loves Scotland, and apparently there's some Scottish.
I was going to
blood.
say, because what is the lineage of Ladd, or because Gilliard is, if it's not Scottish or Irish or
he
something.
is French and British. We have never done that ancestry thing, so
Okay.
I don't know.
I would have thought, yeah.
No, I would rather not.
Man,
know.
these are not rapid fire.
Sorry. Okay.
No, that's my fault. All right. All right. So you said you gave the answer of London or Scotland. So what comes to mind when I say guilty pleasure?
Milan.
Okay. Dogs, cats, or none of the above? Or
All of the above.
I was going to say, I should say that. Or
All of the above.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Favorite movie or TV show?
Ooh, this is going to be bad. Zombieland.
Really?
It's so great.
Gosh, I've never. Okay. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Favorite color?
Teal.
And favorite cereal?
I'm lactose intolerant.
What?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't enjoy cereal. Come on.
Okay, all right, puffs. The little
sugar-
things that you like. The little
Yeah.
the letter in the yellow box.
Yeah.
Pops.
Corn Pops.
Yep.
What are you most thankful? And that ends rapid fire. What are you most thankful for?
That I can freely worship my God.
Very cool. Well, I guess tell people where they can find you.
Well, you can email me at blairladd@kw.com or shoot me a text or a phone call, 251-379-4552.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. Wrap up, any final thoughts or comments?
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. This was fun.
This has been a pleasure. So, Blair, I appreciate your willingness to sit with me and be barraged with questions and all kinds of weirdness, but mostly just sharing your journey as a business owner and entrepreneur. It's been great talking with you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.